Viking Raiders, you are a merciless Viking chief on a mission to have the most loot, the largest clan, the biggest navy. You're going to do this by drawing cards, playing cards, and using cards to buy other cards. You know we like our card game, so we are going to take a look at this. So after the break, I'm going to show you how it plays. In addition with that, how to play, I'm going to show you the two-play Arctic clan variant. And then I'm going to tell you how I think it went. Alright, before I go over showing you how to play the two-player variant and basically how to play Viking Raiders, I do want to point out a few cards. When you play this for the first time, it is recommended not to shuffle because you're going to have these cards mixed into the various decks, and as they are revealed, they are going to show you how to play the game and basically teach you as you play. There is a sheet in here also, first-time players, kind of tells you with the setup, how to do the turn, and then basically how to go through stuff with those cards teaching you. But with that said, let's get into me showing you how this is played. So first thing you're going to do is for the setup, you're going to separate out the cards. You have the market cards, the Viking cards. You are going to have the chief cards. This is an optional way to play. It kind of jumpstarts the game some. And then you are going to have these helpful cards. They have the quick setup, 1 through 3 on one side. They have how to play 1 and 2, playing with the Chiefs, and the two-player Arctic clan variant that I'll be going over here. You are going to decide a game length, and that's where the victory cards come in. You have 5, 6, 7, or 8 that you can do. So you're going to set that card off to the side with the rest of the cards. We like to put it here and then have this discard pile be next to this over here. You are then going to set up the market. You are going to deal out 8 cards into the market. If there are no 1 victory point cards in the market, you're going to collect those cards up, reshuffle, and deal out 8. This is going to happen at any time in the game where there is not at least 1 of the 1 victory point cards out here in the display. At this point, you will decide if you want to play with chief cards. If you want to, then you are going to deal each player a chief card, and then that's going to give them a permanent ability. In addition to the chief cards, you're going to have these other rules of offerings, black market, and mercenaries. I'll get into those at the end of this how to play. You are then going to shuffle up the Viking cards, deal each player 6 cards. And then to determine who starts, you are going to flip over the top card of the deck and consult the table I have right here, and that will tell you who starts the game. So, getting into gameplay, the game is going to be going back and forth in turn until someone accomplishes the end game goal. The end game goal is going to have the denoted number of victory points that you decide on the game, 5 through 8, and you need to have those victory points in each category: the navy, the clan, and the loot. Again, the victory points are up here. So, right now I am going to start with explaining the Arctic clan variant because this happens before you take your turn. For the two-player variant, you are going to reveal the top card of the Viking deck. If it is a resource or a card that gives resources, such as the cornucopia, you are going to take the top card for the market deck and put it into their display. And if they happen to get the victory points first, they would win. They also will get a chief card, so if you get dealt a chief card, they will as well. So after you do the Arctic clan turn, you are then going to draw 2 cards, and this is similar in all gameplays. This is typically how you'll take your turn, starting by drawing 2 cards. You then are going to be able to buy a card from the market and do an action. You have various action cards. They have these A's up in the corner. They do a variety of things, such as this Market Fire is buy any card from the market for 2 less resources, and you do not need victory points, which I'll explain when I talk about purchasing a card. And then like Fenrir does something else, but this is, you play this in relation to be raiding, which I will go over raiding here as well. So to buy a card from market, you're going to look at the card and see what resources it needs. In this instance, a Viking and wood. The cards that are worth more than 1, so in this instance 2, you're going to see it says 1 clan VP as well. That means in order to purchase this village card, you need to have a Viking, a wood, a gold nugget, and at least 1 clan victory point in your tableau, or there are victory point cards that may be in your hand, showing that to show that you do have the 1 victory point for the clan. So in this instance, let's say I'm going to buy the settlement. I am going to look at my hand and see what I got. I don't have a Viking necessarily, but I do have the gift of the gods. The gift of the gods is choose 2 resources. So I would simply discard this, grab this, putting it down here in my tableau. I now have 1 victory point in clan, and then this is replenished. The other types of cards you can get here are these ability cards. You'll see it costs you 1 of each resource. You are only allowed to have 1 ability at a time. If you acquire a second ability, the ability you have is discarded, and then it's going to give you a special ability. This one is win the game with 1 less victory point in each category. If you do not have the necessary resources to purchase a card, you can always turn in any 2 cards from your hand for 1 resource, including the action cards, victory point cards, etc. You basically just turn in the 2 with whatever else you want. So again, with me not having, say, this wood down here, but I have the food, I could go to the food and get rid of these 2 cards as the wood and then grab that card. So for playing an action card, you're simply going to play the action card and do what it says. Quite a few of the action cards have you raiding. When you raid somebody, you are going to, if it says, just raid another player, you are going to choose clan, navy, or loot. Otherwise, it may say like raid the clan, raid the loot, etc. But it'll all happen the same way. So say I am set up like this and I have these 2 clan cards, and my opponent is going to raid me and choose clan. I'm going to take those cards. I am going to grab raid protection cards equal to the number of cards that are being raided. I am going to shuffle them up. I am going to then display them to my opponent, and they are going to randomly grab one. In this instance, they got my settlement. Had they got a raid protection card, then I would have just kept my cards, putting the raid protections back on the deck. Outside that, like I said, you'll typically just follow what the action says. So the market fire is buy any 2 cards from the market, or buy any card from the market for 2 less resources. So after you're done with your turn, by either taking an action, buying a market card, you can do both, you can do neither, or you can only have to do one. Then it goes to the next player. They will play their turn, going back and forth until someone has reached that victory condition of having the designated amount of victory points amongst all 3 of the armies, the navy, the clan, and the loot. So really quick, the whole playing with chiefs, I said I was going to cover this. You have your offerings. Is instead of drawing the 2 cards at the beginning of the turn, you may draw 3 cards and discard 2 of these at the beginning of your turn. The black market is you can buy the top card from the market supply for any 3 resources, for example, 2 stone and 1 gold. So basically a blind purchase. It could help, it could not, you never know. And then the mercenaries is you can buy extra raid protection cards for 1 raid only. Each raid protection card costs 1 resource. So in that instance, you can spend a resource to add an extra one to here. So for that example I used where it was 2 cards, I could have spent this that had 3 raid protection in there instead of just the 2. Alrighty, so let's get into my thoughts. So there you go. That is the basics of how to play Viking Raiders. Let's look inside the box first, seeing as this is a card game, pure and simple. It is just a ton of cards. With those cards, they have that like player aid, basically, the how to play. It's not one for everyone, but there's enough that you can have them kind of passed around or laid on the table. That's a really nice inclusion. Even with this as being a card game, so the actions are pretty simple and how you take your turns pretty simple, but being able to have those cards there just to make sure to convey it is nice, especially having the specific Arctic clan one that can stay on the table, like by the deck as a reminder of, hey, when I draw cards, I need to do this from the Arctic clan first, is just a really cool little like inclusion. And then those teaching cards that are included in it, they're paced throughout the deck nice, so you're not like getting card after card after card. It's, they let you kind of get used to something a little bit first, and then the next card will come up. Player count, it is going to kind of vary how quickly they come up, obviously, because in a 2-player game, you're going to go through the cards possibly a little slower than a 4-player game, etc. But even at a 2-player game, we got to the cards at a good pace and a good time to where we weren't feeling like we were missing out on anything. It introduced them at a nice clip. And speaking of all those different types of rules things, the rules sheet, pamphlet, leaflet, it basically folds out really big. It's laid out well. It's a good size because it doesn't have a small print. A lot of times with card games, they give you like these really small rule books. This one folds out. It's large. You have all the setup on one side, flip it over, all the gameplay. So they do make sure that you really know and grasp the situation. They got examples in there, etc. Then there's a separate sheet that covers like the Arctic clan, certain cards that like the action cards, and make sure that those are laid out well. So there is a lot of inclusions of rules and making sure everything's clear for you for when you play. The artwork for the game, I'm going to say it's fine. It conveys the theme okay, but it's nothing like write home about. I personally, I'm not going to say like the art is stunning. The art is fine. The cards themselves, though, they feel nice. They don't feel thin. They don't feel cheap. They shuffle well. They have some nice sturdiness to them, and they just feel good in the hand. So getting into the two-player changes, I obviously in the how to play, I showed you how that happened, and I kind of mentioned it already, and that is the Arctic clan. So basically what's going to happen is on your turn, typically you draw 2 cards and then buy a card from market or play an action card. With the Arctic clan variant, what you're going to do first is you are going to reveal the top card. If it is a resource or provides resources such as the cornucopia or gift of the gods, you're going to grab the top card from the market deck and put it in their tableau. And if they get to the required number of victory points in the 3 categories, then they are going to win. It's a really cool way to simulate that second player, because that's going to give you that extra player to now raid, instead of it basically just being like, I'm raiding you, you're raiding me, I'm raiding you, and almost kind of like a stalemate, or this possibility of just, constantly taking stuff from each other. It adds that whole other third level, possibly even more diversity if they're able to get some of like the clan cards and they're not coming up, or the loot cards because they're not coming up, etc. It gives you that whole other basically area to raid. So with that, we are going to dovetail into gameplay. The gameplay, it's really simple and easy to teach. I mean, like I said, the first time you play it, as you play through it, it's going to teach you all the stuff. It's going to simply be draw cards, use those cards to buy cards, and action cards to do stuff to your opponent. In regards to that, the rating's also really easy to explain. I'm going to raid that. There's 3 cards. Grab 3 of those cards, mix them up, let me grab one. Done. Buying cards are easily deciphered too. You just spend those resources. I will say the biggest thing I gripe with that is that when you have to have the extra victory points, I mean, it is kind of easy just to remember in your head that if it's a level 2, you're going to need 1 victory point. Level 3, you're going to need 2 victory points. But the fact that that it's written on there, but in small print, it would have been nice if they would have had some kind of icon, or maybe made that a bit bigger so it stands out a bit more, especially because you have the big symbols of what everything's going to cost, and etc. And the action cards have on them what they all do. So it is easiest to look at the action card and know what's going to happen in it. And then if you need a little more clarification, like I said, there's that extra rules leaflet that has all of those extra rules. There also isn't much playing out of turn, although there is a couple of cards, like I believe it's the Berserkers, let you be able to cancel an action. There's Fenrir, which will change up how the raiding protection works, might be adding cards or taking cards away, etc. And then you never have to worry about the one deck right now, because there is the card of Yggdrasil, if I remember correctly, that when that's revealed, you put on the top or the discard. I believe you draw a card to replace it, and then you shuffle a discard into the deck. So that's kind of that cool thing to make sure that like all the good cards, if they do get used, do get shuffled back in right away, and it does help churn that deck through. But overall, if you are looking for that simple card game with a Viking theme and some take that, and this game is going to work great for you. We normally aren't big on take that games per se, but what I really like about the way that this take that mechanism is with the rating, is it's not like, it isn't always a guarantee you're going to get something because of that rating protection. So that interesting twist right there kind of, for us, kind of like tampers down the take that for us, because it's a risk, and like sometimes you get lucky, like the one game we played, Bri had the chief that gave her extra raid protection cards, and then she played Fenrir, so it was like 2 cards out of, I think it was like 6 or 8 cards that I had to grab, so I had to get one of those and then I'd be able to win the game, and I just happened to pull it. So that one's kind of one of those ones where it's more luck on your side as opposed to a full-on take that and really messing them up. That being said, some of those action cards don't have that raid protection one. It is literally just like there's a card in there that just lets you take any card that your opponent has. And that one can sting a little bit, and that one seems really swingy because it's like, hey, I have no clan cards. Look, I just took your 3 clan card, so now I can just jump up and start buying these level 2s and level 3 clan cards as opposed to having to work my way up there. So that's one of the things I'm a little not It's one of those things I'm not a real big fan of, is how swingy some of these cards are, because then a lot of it is, that luck of the draw. Because it seemed like Bri was always getting that card and I never got that card. And like our first play, it seemed like she was always getting the like gift of the gods with the 2 resources, and was really able to start buying cards a lot quicker than I did. And then for us, the 8 victory point game did feel a bit long and did start getting very samey, because there isn't much different in what you're doing each round. You're like drawing the cards, you're buying the cards, drawing the cards, buying the cards. So for us, that 6 victory point game was the sweet spot, where by the time the game ended is right about when we were feeling kind of done with it. Like, all right, it was a good game length at the 6 victory points. And even if that one gets a little long, you do have the option of the 5 victory points too, if you want that really shorter game. But for us, 6 was that sweet spot, and 8 definitely seemed a little too long and started feeling really repetitive. So I'm going to say that this game is okay. I will play it if in the mood. I'm going to give this a 6. Like I said, it's a fine card game and it can easily fill the time, but with the swinging nature of some of the action cards, the fact that it can start feeling repetitive in the longer games and possibly a little bit drawn out is kind of what drags it down to that 6 for me. But I do think this will really shine at a higher player count than 2. The Arctic Clan is a nice patch to make that 2-player game feel a bit more, where you're taking away from the rating of the 1 person. But I think once you start having like 3 actual players, 4 actual players, and you start having more rating going around, that may break up that samey repetitive nature we had at 2 players, because there's going to be a lot more player interaction with different players, and it's not going to feel like just basically like taking from your opponent and going back and forth with them. So that's why at a 2-player for us, I am going to say a 6 out of 10. Like I said, I definitely can see that there are groups out there that this will shine with, and hopefully the stuff I've given you will know if that is your group or not. In fact, one way you can let me know that is to go down to the comments section below and leave that comment and let me know if you think this game will shine, or if you've played it, and what you thought of it. While you're leaving that comment, you can also like, subscribe, and share this video. That is all appreciative and helps the algorithm get our videos out to more viewers so they can learn more of our thoughts on things. Alrighty, and in addition to that, if you're looking for board games, we have a link to Miniature Market down below. That's an affiliate link, so if you use that link, we do get a portion of sales back to help fund this channel. Alrighty, so until next time, raid on!